It's 5:30. Call to order the Indio Sustainability Commission for this evening, April 22nd. Attending in person is Commissioner Athena Liu, Commissioner Gerardo Jimenez, Vice Chair Getka, and myself, Pete Chris. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. If you don't mind, Sarah, could we do the minutes before we do the presentation so we could give her our undivided attention? Can we look at the minutes from last month, from February, 2 months ago actually, and see if the board feels fit to make a motion?
The minutes should be from March, last meeting.
Oh, it says February. Okay, March.
I read the minutes, motion to approve, notwithstanding any changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, make 4-0. Should that be is that a typo? Am I reading wrong?
It's in March.
Yeah, on the printout it says March 25th.
March 25th on the printout.
Oh, okay, it's I'm looking online. Okay. All right. Our presentation is next. Indio Water Authority, Michelle. Good evening.
Happy Earth Day.
Good evening and happy Earth Day to all of you this evening.
Good afternoon, Michelle.
I may have met some of you at the last commission meeting, maybe almost a year ago now, or if not sooner, but if not, I wanted to take a minute and introduce myself. My name is Michelle C., and I am the Administrative Services Manager with the Indio Water Authority. And this evening, I wanted to provide you an update kind of where we're at with the Indio sub-basin, as well as where we're at in terms of our water supply here in the region. Just a bit of background, just wanted to kind of highlight at a high level where all the different water sources throughout the state. This includes water supplies from our state water project, so there's a bunch of reservoirs and waterways that transports the water from Northern California to Southern California. We also have other water infrastructure areas and aqueducts that is constructed, for example, in the LA area by LA Department of Water and Power. That transports water from the Eastern Sierras to Southern California. We also have the Colorado River Aqueduct that comes in here through the Coachella Valley. And then more the localized area, other water sources include local groundwater, recycling, and conservation. So as some of you may have seen in the media as of late, this past year was a very wet year, and you can see that pictures worth 1,000 words. I have pictures before you of Lake Oroville, one of the reservoir areas in Northern California. The picture above you, just for a frame of reference, this was December of 2022, and then you have an image below that, which is June of 2023, and you can visibly see the difference in water levels. The image of the state right front and center is what we call the drought monitor, and so this map gets updated regularly. The latest update was just a few days ago on April 18th, and this basically shows, to no surprise to all of you, essentially not any dry areas except for a few little areas north and east of the state. So with that said, one of the other things that we look at in terms of water supply, this is a map that is prepared by Metropolitan Water District. And this is kind of a high-level view, kind of where we're at in terms of different reservoir levels and as well as precipitation. So you have the images to your on the green, which is a lot of the reservoirs and precipitation levels in Northern California. That's part of the state water project. And then to the blue area on the right is the reservoir levels for the Colorado River. and then we kind of trend historically where it's been, as you can see, in terms of precipitation above average, and then for reservoirs in the state water water project, pretty full, and then improvements from prior years with the Colorado River. So it kind of painted a high level of state water supply conditions, but then I kind of wanted to hone in more on the regional level here in the Coachella Valley and kind of what we do here at the regional level in terms of water supply management. That is often prescribed and outlined in some of our regional plans. We work closely with other water agencies here in the Valley. So this includes a document that we call the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, also known by acronym as SGMA, and we have what we call an alternative plan. And that is a plan that what we do is that it was legislation that was first adopted back in 2014 by then Governor Brown during the midst of the drought back then. And basically it was requiring groundwater to be managed sustainably by various water agencies. So this was basically based on individual basins. There had to be a plan outlining how agencies were to sustainably manage groundwater and not to and to discourage overdraft of these basins. The second, at a regional collaboration, is what we call an urban water management plan. Typically, these are done on an individual water agency basis, but here in the Valley, we decided to go ahead and take a regional approach. And this document is updated about every 5 years, and it kind of looks at population projections, demand projections, and basically identify, if we're able to meet those plans in the long term. And a subset of that includes a water shortage contingency plan, and this would be outlining kind of progressively different measures that we take in the event there might be an anticipated water shortage. So there's a prescribed actions that increase in terms of severity, all the way from regular conservation measures, or water efficiency measures, to extreme things like when we're basically rationing in the extreme case. So I wanted to kind of highlight before you that these are plans that are in place, having worked with other agencies in the Valley. So as I mentioned, as part of these regional planning efforts, this is kind of at a high level, all the different types of projects or actions that are taken by the different water agencies, and they kind of fall in 4 general areas. This includes water conservation, water supply development, so this would be like building new storage, like the one in Northern California, such as Sites Reservoir. There's also source substitution replenishment, which we'd be looking at like recycled water as an example, working with the golf courses and things like that. And then also water quality protection. So a lot of water quality monitoring, also, consolidating smaller water systems that may not be able to achieve and maintain water quality standards, and so on and so forth. So these are some examples in terms of types of projects that various agencies are leading in terms of this overall plan of sustainably managing groundwater and or identifying alternate uses to offset groundwater reliance. So as I mentioned, in terms of long-term planning, this is kind of the modeling that we have technical consultants do. So what this is showing is with all of these different projects, and anticipating climate change amongst other factors, what does that do in terms of our overall groundwater? Chart here is kind of the baseline, meaning we don't do anything. We don't do anything, and you can see in terms of projected cumulative groundwater storage, it kind of goes down. But if you look at the other charts, and that accounts for like capital projects for the 5-year and long term, you will see that in terms of the benefit, the added value in terms of groundwater storage goes up. And this is one of the charts that is included in our SGMA plan, just for frame of reference. This is a map showing, the different sources for a lot of our golf courses here in the Valley. And so there's, as you can see in the various colors, and I recognize it may be a little bit difficult to see, but you will see in terms of, there's a lot, certainly a lot of effort that is dedicated to trying to get golf courses to use non-potable water. So that would be recycled water that's highlighted in the purple there. Those are existing recycled water customers. And then you also have future customers that are slated to go offline from potable water to recycled water and just for frame of reference that these are some of the things that are happening in terms of working closely with the Gulf industry to do that. So before I describe further, I just wanted to take a moment and kind of talk about when we quantify water, we're talking about more an acre foot. And just for a frame of reference, an acre foot is the equivalent of filling a football field 1 feet deep of water, or 1 foot deep of water, and that equates to about 326,000 gallons for a frame of reference. So having said that, one of the things that we do in terms of evaluating how are we doing with a lot of these water projects is looking at our groundwater storage. And as part of these planning documents, every year we evaluate what is the net difference in terms of our groundwater storage. And just most recently, we completed our evaluation for we look at timeframes in terms of water years. And a water year is considered from October to September. And this past water year, because it was an extremely wet year, there was a net gain of about 129,000 acre feet of water in our groundwater storage. A lot of that has to do with just natural infiltration from the mountains and whatnot. And so I'm happy to report that. And so you can see with this information, that gets included in terms of looking at long term, what those trends and patterns look like. And so at a high level, the general takeaways from this chart shows that there has been positive trends in terms of groundwater storage in since 2010, and there's been a positive, we're heading in the right direction, and that we're approaching average, because at one point in time, I want to say back in 2009 or so, the basin was considered medium overdraft, and that was the reason of why here in the Coachella Valley, the agencies were collaborated on building out this regional plan to ensure that we no longer overdraft and actually ensure that we are not overdrafting and bringing up that groundwater storage back up. So this is an indicator of that. So I had mentioned to you some of the capital projects that are in place, but one of the things that also plays an important role is also conservation. And so IWA, like many other agencies here in the region, has a very focus on conservation, whether it's by outreach and messaging, providing useful tips, promoting rebate programs for various household fixtures, as well as turf removal. And one of the offshoots in terms of regional messaging for conservation is through CV water counts. And besides having a dedicated site, just all things conservation with resources and tips and whatnot. We also host a CV Water Counts Academy that's held once a year. This past year it was in February, where we have a list of guest speakers from various agencies that talks everything from where water comes from to water quality to conservation. And so it was very well attended this past session. We had about 50 participants this past year, and that's something that we've been doing for the last several years on an annual basis. So I wanted to share that as a resource for those who are watching and for all of you for awareness there. In terms of for IWA, I did want to take a minute that we, a while back last late summer, we updated our turf removal rebate from $2 per square foot, which is still the case if customers are interested, or residential customers are interested in removing their turf, but we increased it to $3 per square foot if they opt to plant native trees for every 250 square feet of turf removed, and that's to encourage the planting of native trees, addressing climate change, what we can do to do our part. And then as part of this, because our program is now funded by, fortunately we've been awarded some grant funding, we no longer, artificial turf is not an eligible expense as part of that, part of our rebate program. And one of the other things that we're trying to do to assist customers if and when they're interested in pursuing a turf removal project is having a handy reference guide with with native plants and landscaping. And one of the other things that we are currently working on, we received some grant funding for this, which is trying to make it easier, even easier for customers, which is basically develop pre-approved site plans with maybe some plants already, maybe designs for irrigation that folks can take advantage of and use, so they don't have to worry about coming up with the designs themselves and easing that overall process, just to make that a little bit more seamless from a customer experience and whatnot. I do want to take a minute for those that may be interested or may not be aware. We also have a drop counter app. So essentially, this is available for all of our Indio Water Authority customers. By registering with Drop Counter, you're able to review your water usage. You pay your bill online. You could receive alerts if there are unusual usage and/or continuous usage, which could be an indicator of a potential leak. And then we also have the mobile app feature, so you could download that and then navigate that through your mobile phone. So if I had to summarize this presentation, just a couple takeaways here. Certainly, compared last year to this year, we certainly see improved hydrologic conditions, as I mentioned, with the groundwater storage of a net gain of 129,000 acre feet. And that, with the regional collaboration, we make good, sound, sustainable water management. And part of that is attributed to the analysis that we do with modeling, incorporating climate change with the different scenarios and with the different projects that are planned or in place, including conservation. So those are the general takeaways, I would say, from this presentation before the commission. And I also leave with you my contact information should anyone have any questions. I'm also available here this evening to answer any questions as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Very good. A lot of information there. Let's try and digest it while you're going through it. Did you say you did a tour this year, or you do an annual tour type?
As part of CV Water Counts, as part of CV Water Counts, we host it's called the CV Water Counts Academy, and it's open to all water customers in the Valley. It's typically between February and March each year, and we invite speakers, either from different water agencies and also from state agencies, and we've covered different topics from where water comes from, regional planning, as I kind of highlighted at a high level here this evening. We also talk things about water quality, conservation, even the Salton Sea project. We have a guest speaker from the state that talks about that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How many agencies are involved in the CV counts?
I think about 6 offhand.
I have taken that, and I probably, it was so enjoyable that I would probably take it again if I just had the time to, but and probably will take it again, because it is a moving target. But I'll just, 1 or 2 questions on my part is, so kudos to that CV Water Counts Academy. I hope it keeps going, and it would be great to get some, it sounds like it's being widely successful. When I went, I don't think there were 50 of us as the participants or trainees. I don't think it was that many people, but it was still nevertheless useful. And one of the things I learned through that CV Water Counts Academy is that I don't know if it's just India, most of our supply, like 70-80%, is from underground sources, right? We're not relying on rainfall or something like that.
Yes, at least for Indio Water Authority, we're 100% groundwater, and other agencies, they have contracts with like Colorado River and also State Water Project. But for Indio specifically, we are 100% groundwater.
Right, and so ours does not fluctuate as much as other locations. Nevertheless, when you look at that graph, do we have, how comfortable do you feel about our sustainability? I think the graph kind of ended at 2025 or something like that.
Yes, and so that's a great question, because one of the ways we evaluate ourselves in the region in terms of, are we indeed sustainably managing it, is that we, on an annual basis, have to review the groundwater storage levels. And so the one chart I showed you was just this past year. The year before, because it was a drier year, we gain some and we lose some.
Right.
And so I think it's just annually monitoring that. So that
Right.
is one of the requirements that we do. And I think it's also working collaboratively, regularly, to keeping each other in terms of projects that are underway. And I think that this is a great example of what that looks like, and just continuing to monitor.
Where is the recharge coming from?
So the recharge comes from natural infiltration. We do natural infiltration. That's a big part of it. And I think off the analysis between last year and this past year, what has to do with this great increase in groundwater storage had a lot to do with natural infiltration and groundwater recharge.
Okay. And my last question, outreach, you said the outreach and perhaps this question is for my fellow commissioners and Sarah also. One of our objectives on our plan is on water, we have outreach and incentives listed for this year. And I'm assuming that the outreach being done by the Water Authority, would we be claiming that as our outreach, or are we doing other things?
That's primarily we're just recognizing the outreach that IWA does.
Yeah.
And we have had some, we do some cross outreach. We've added water into our waste booklet. We've added it that way. And we may, as we move forward, add things like that as well. But it's generally just recognizing IWA's outreach.
Okay, all righty. My last question is on PFAS. Is that going to change anything regarding water supply?
I think that is certainly something that I know EPA just recently released their standards, but as far as I'm aware of, I don't believe, at least with Indio Water, we have tested that, but it's certainly good to continue to monitor, as with all constituents, for water quality purposes. Absolutely.
All righty, thank you. Great job. Keep going and keep us within the water. We need it. Thank you.
I did have some other questions real quick. What's the plan for going forth with new golf courses in the valley? Are they required to, because there's some other ones coming online in the next year or so, 2 years.
No, that's a great question, and I think that at least I can speak somewhat confidently for Coachella Valley Water District. They have been the primary coordinator in terms of coordinating with the golf courses and trying to ensure that instead of using potable water, regular water, that there are alternate water sources like recycled water. And I know that there is a dedicated task force that CVWD meets regularly with representatives with the golfing industry, just talk about, collaboration and partnerships and as such. So I am aware that at least for golf courses and trying to identify alternate water sources, that has definitely been part of that.
Because my understanding is the most recent agreement between the 7 states is California was supposed to take a 10% reduction. So we've got 62 golf courses right now in the valley. I mean, sometimes I wonder, why do we need any more? But golfers would probably dispute that. But so I was just curious if they're going to be working on that. So the other question, and you may or may not know the answer to this, Mexico receives about 10% of the outflow every year. We have a treaty with them as of 1944. Do you happen to know if there's any kind of payment being made to the United States on the water that we're allowing to flow down in that country?
I don't have that information offhand, or I don't know it offhand, but I presume that that's probably you're referring to as part of the 7 states, and that as part of Mexico being part of that, correct?
I think I thought the states were just in the U.S. and of course Mexico's a country, so it would be an additional member. I could be wrong. I just saw the 7 states, so I'm just assuming it was U.S. states, but I could be It could be include Mexico.
I
too.
can take a look and circle back with that.
I'd be curious, because we've been doing that since 1944, and the way things are getting in the U.S., you know, everybody's fighting for the water rights. And if Mexico was paying X amount for their water rights, that would help us be able to afford maybe more reservoirs, more holding areas, that type of thing. Because I think that's another option going forward. We're going to have to build more reservoirs, to hold back some of that free flow water, also from the mountain areas too. Just my opinion. But otherwise, very good presentation. Appreciate that.
Any other comments? Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, work plan and outreach plan updates. Does anybody have any updates? Okay.
Okay, the updates for this month, the Zero Waste RFP closes this Thursday. We got a lot of questions on the RFP. You know, this is brand new. Bidding it or trying to get a conformative bid from everyone who was interested. It was a little tricky, but we did answer all the questions, and hopefully this Thursday we'll have a good idea what we're looking at in terms of costs, estimates, and also getting someone on board and actually getting that project started. But the RFP is a really important part of it. It takes a while to do, and it should be, cross your fingers, done this Thursday. We also finally got the approval for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, the EECBG grant. This was the one that we had put in for technical assistance for an EV charger master plan to set us up better for grants that come in the future, to have an idea already where we want to put them, and then also to take a look at the corporate yard, because the regulations for air quality are moving toward cleaner fleets. In other words, we're going to have an Indio fleet that's more and more clean one way or another, so electric, or here we have a pretty good option for hydrogen. So they're going to help us kind of work that out for our own fleet in Indio as well. That work should start sometime in the summer of 2024. It really depends on the block grant folks to let us know when they're ready, when they have the technical assistance ready to schedule it. But it won't be for another month or two. We have moved into the farmers market. So now we're at Food Truck Fridays and we're at the farmers market. So I'm really happy about that. We're just increasing our outreach there. And we do have a sustainability collection event coming up on May 18th. That's where we're going to collect used oil filters. We collect the tires, e-waste. We have a shredding truck out there. And that's coming on May 18th. So we are moving along in our work plan and our outreach plan. And that's all I have for that item. I do have some staff items.
Couple questions, if I may.
Yes,
Who authored the RFP for the zero waste?
I did.
Okay. And you're still working on it?
Well,
Or
it
is it
closed.
complete?
No, it's complete. It posted for about 3 weeks. Then you give them a deadline to say, what are your questions?
Right.
And then a week after that, after you answer them, then they have to
Right.
have their. So all the questions are answered. They're all up on the website, and then it closes. The final close should be this Thursday. As long as we get a bid, we'll move. I think we can move forward.
So I heard that there were a lot of questions about it,
Yep.
a little bit of confusion. So did
Yep.
that change how, did you adjust the RFP, or you kept the RFP original and just answered their questions in a private conversation?
None of it's private. One of the most important things is in the RFP is that everybody is bidding on the same thing. So if anyone has questions, any questions that come in, all the questions have to be published and answered
Yep.
and sent out to, or at least noticed to everyone who's on the bid list who wants to know about it. And then it has to be put on the website. So even if you didn't ask to know about it, if you want to, it's there.
But it
And
didn't change the RFP?
No, it doesn't change the RFP. It just honed in some of the things. Like, for instance, I don't know how many businesses we're going to have. and that's really hard to bid. So for one of the questions, that came out to be a really major question from more than one person. And so we just outlined, okay, six facilities, 6 months, just so that everyone's bidding on the same thing, and then we can move from there.
I would like to comment on your nice flyer, for anybody's watching or might watch this. This came out in the mail this week in my water bill, and it talks about the event on May 18th. And also they're going to offer paper shredding, which is nice for people who want to shred some old documents or whatever. So I just thought I would mention it's a nice flyer. It's both bilingual, English and Spanish. So I guess we had worked with IWA to insert these with their billing. Is that how that worked?
Yes, we have the new public information manager, and I usually take things through her, and once they're approved, then I work with Michelle, and she gets them out into the IWA bills.
Great.
Comments, questions?
No, thank you.
Staff items.
Okay, I do have a few staff items, just because we were talking about water tonight. There's so much going on in water, and I sent out a little bit about links going on, but I wanted to go through a few of them just for updates tonight as well. The water plans, the California water plan update for 2023 is out. That gets updated every 5 years. It's the state's strategic plan for sustainably and equitably managing and developing water resources. I took a look at it, and it is all about climate change and equity, but all about climate change. Also, the 2024 Salton Sea Management Program annual report is out. There's a lot of really good work that's going on at the Salton Sea, so you might want to take a look at that. They're also not just looking at the short-term projects, but continuing to look at long-term projects or solutions for the Salton Sea. The Colorado River, I just want to give you the update. The most recent update that I could find from that is that most of the agreements are expiring in 2026. So at this point, the upper basin states and the lower basin states have each submitted a plan to the Bureau of Reclamation, who I think has to or is supposed to give some idea which plan it might go with or some other option sometime in December of this year. And then, of course, there are the new EPA limits on PFOS and PFAS. California does have non-enforceable advisory levels for them, but they are much higher than the new EPA standards. And basically, water utilities will have 3 years to test for them, and if they have exceedances, then they'll have 2 years after that to remove it. That's currently how it's written. And is that it? Oh, and the last thing is I just wanted to go over some of the action items. There were 3 from the last meeting. Obviously, I'll bring the work plan back in a couple months, but staff to consider the speaking concerning a rooftop solar. Chair Chris, you brought that up because that's becoming more and more something to talk about. And I did meet with the folks at CVAG and with the Inland Regional Energy Network. CVAG is a part of that. It's a collaboration between Coachella Valley Association of Governments, San Bernardino City Council, Council of Governments, and Western Riverside Council of Governments. They've all partnered together to create the IREN, and that's to serve cities in all of the regions, and they really focus on energy efficiency. And I asked them, one of the things that while we were talking was about solar and also about how we see free solar everywhere, because we had that conversation earlier, and is that real and is that not? And oddly enough, there are places in California where solar is free. What they did ask was if, while you're looking on your social media or wherever you're seeing these ads for free solar, if you could capture a picture of that, send it to me. I can compile it all and send it back to the folks at IREN, who can kind of, like you said, kind of sift through that, talk about what's real, what's not real, but they would like to see what you're looking at first. So that would be something that I could bring back eventually. I would like to do it through an organization like IREN that's not a seller of solar and not an electrical company. They kind of fit into that area of a really good organization that might be able to come and tell us a little more factual information about rooftop solar and options here. And then the last one is, you asked about the Commissioner Liu asked about the greenhouse gas inventory that CVAG is doing. CVAG has been incredibly busy. In fact, they finished what they were working on, and this is the Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ontario MSAs, the Priority Climate Action Plans. This was, it's dated March 1st, 2024. So the Priority Climate Action Plan had to include a greenhouse gas emissions inventory. It is area-wide. It's not specific to the cities, but CVAG is a part of this, so the CVAG area is included as a sub-area, and it talks about transportation, huge, part of the greenhouse gas emissions. They do know that, but this is out, and it's, I can send it to you or send you the link. You can take a look at that as well. And that's all I have for the updates.
Thank you, Sarah. Commissioner reports. Who would like to go first?
I will go last.
You will go last.
Okay.
Vice Chair Gecka.
I'm going to share a few slides with you as soon as we get them up. This is a web portal I came across. It's called EnergySage.com. They're based out of Boston, Massachusetts. This agency was funded by a program run by the U.S. Department of Energy. So their aim is to offer renewable energy options and make it more accessible and affordable for property owners. So basically, it supposedly is a third-party group that will offer you different options, and we'll go through the slides here, but it's a free service, and that's the CEO. Kind of talks about their program and where they started and why they're doing it, and they look at themselves as a consumer-first type company. Next slide. And then it just talks about their mission. I'm not going to read through all that, but that's their mission statement. And I already kind of reviewed some of that. So all this is on their website. They have a wealth of information. Next slide, please. And then these are all different categories that you can look up under solar, electric, smart home, heating, air conditioning, and they also provide reviews, so you can look at different companies and what their reviews have been by customers, that type of thing. Is there a way we could put this on the screen here or on the monitors? Thank you. That's easier for me. So you can see on your monitor all the different items that you can investigate into. EV charging guides, what's the best EV chargers, how much does it cost to charge an EV, also clean energy financing options out there. So there's a wealth of information basically on this website. It's open to everybody. And next slide. They talk about home solar. You put your zip code in there, and then you can compare different vendors, installers, as to what their quotes might be, or they'll reach out to you, contact you. Next slide. This is if you want to get electricity from a local solar farm, you put your zip code in there. Now, the caveat on this is you'd have to be willing to pay a little more if you want your electricity to come strictly from a solar farm utility. But some people are willing to do that. They can afford to do that, and they're interested in saving, the environment. So that's an option for people who want to do that. Next. And then you can also look into heating and cooling. You can compare heat pump quotes. Living in the desert, we all have to contend with air conditioners and heat exchangers and heat pumps. So you never know when your air conditioner might go down. So it's a good option here to start doing some investigative research if you're shopping around. Next. And then learning about solar and then solar batteries gives you all the benefits. You can do a lot of research on here if If you want to learn more about it, if you have solar panels but you don't have a battery storage system, this is a good option to go in here and kind of get educated without listening to a salesperson from a specific company. So again, another good resource. Next. And then again, they have solar energy data. You can go in here and view different reports from Bloomberg's and all these other companies that provide financial reports and energy efficiency reports, that type of thing. Next. And then how much does it cost to charge an electric car? There's different options. So again, if you're looking at buying an EV, you can go on here and kind of get an idea what your monthly charging cost might be at home versus at the fuel pump for gasoline. That's a nice comparison. You can go in there and research that. Next. This is just one example of using an EV and what it might cost. Let's say the first one on the left is a Tesla Model 3, 25 kilowatts, 100 miles. Might cost you $65 approximately versus driving it with a gas car. I guess they do similar comparisons as far as vehicle type, weight, that type of thing. A Toyota Camry might cost you $234. It's just a comparison. Of course, that will change based on the cost of gas, and that was based on that $5.91 per gallon cost of gas on that comparison. But again, you can plug in different numbers. You can go to different states and see what those are. Next. And then here's something, if you're looking at EV chargers, some companies are providing rebates on that. So you can also look at this and do some investigative research for your own. If you want to put in a electric charger, it's different types, obviously. This is a kind of an educational program on here. So it's Solar 101. So if somebody doesn't know anything about solar, can go on here and educate themselves. Next. And this is a program from IID I came across. It came out in their April 2024 newsletter. Everybody should have received a copy of this in their billing. And they are offering a rebate up to $500 for people wanting to put in an EV charger. And there's different types of chargers, different classifications, and different costs. So the maximum rebate you can qualify for would be up to $500. But it's a nice rebate program that IID is offering at this time. Next. And Desert Water. I know they're out of our immediate jurisdiction, but I'm actually going on tour Wednesday. They offer tours quarterly. I'm going to be doing the AM tour from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock AM. And they're going to take us to their well sites, their reservoir, recycled water facility, state certified lab, and also their solar field. I just thought I'm going to do this as just kind of my own education. They're probably not much different than IID and what they're doing and some of the other came up available for this week. I thought it's not too hot yet to get out there in the desert, so that's why I picked the AM hours also. But they do that a couple times a year, and you just have to register online. They have a maximum, I think, of 30 people. So, but I'll do a report on that next time when I get back, kind of talk about it. Next. Okay, this came across my desk. I used to be on a committee up in Beaumont for the RCTC before I moved to Indio. They've got the new plan published as of April 2024. I'm sure most of us have heard about this. The next slide, please. This is a plan for mass transit, regional train system for commuting from LA County through Riverside County. That map there just shows western Riverside County, what their plans are. If you look where the blue is, which is kind of hard to see, but it's on the top where the dotted blue lines are up on the top, that would be the public transportation railway line that they're proposing through Beaumont, through Banning, out through Cabazon, and then out here to Coachella Valley. Next slide. So this is a more specific map of our area. And if you look at, again, where the green arrow is, those are proposed rail stops for this new commuter line. And that would be typically where our transportation hub is over here off of Indio Boulevard, where the bus stop is, that area there. I think that's what they're looking. There's plenty of space there to put a rail depot in there. I know the cities are gonna be kind of arguing about who should have it. I think Palm Springs are gonna have a location already, but I think Palm Desert is probably gonna wanna have a stop. And then Indio, I'm sure we're gonna wanna have a stop, and then maybe down at Coachella. That's kind of the proposed plan, and there's a lot to be figured out on that yet in the future. But I thought I would just throw that up there because it's an April report. It's the latest development on what they're looking at. I have no idea on the timeline on that. It's a few years off yet, but you've got to start somewhere, so. And all that's available through RCTC on their website. You can go and download the report if you want. Next, I think that's it. That's it. Oh, one last thing. I came across this. This is California Water Plan Update 2023. It's going to be a virtual Zoom seminar coming up April 29th. That's a Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. So it's going to be tough for folks working, but it is going to be available on the 29th. I think it's about a 3-hour program, so I'll probably watch it just because I'm retired. So, but I'll get a report on that too. Any highlights that I find that I come across on that, I'll share at the next meeting. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Very informative as always. At our last IID, Consumer Economic Advisory Board meeting, I was a little scared. We discussed many change orders to a lot of the revamping of IID's equipment that needed to be upgraded, and the change orders were dramatic. Out of 3-4 change orders, there was 3-4 change orders. Yeah, there was 13.8% increase they were asking for in change orders. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but when you're talking $24 million on one change order to $27 million, it's a lot of money. So the electric is not going to get any cheaper. So I really would like to try to bring somebody in, to discuss solar on roofs and things of that nature, and educating ourselves and the public in Indio. For a long time, the East Valley didn't have to worry about getting solar on their roofs like the West Valley did in Edison. But now we're at the point where nothing is going to get cheaper. In fact, it's just going to keep increasing. So I just wanted to make you aware of that almost 14% increase in change orders in the tens of millions. Dramatic difference in what was budgeted for it. That obviously gets transferred to the end consumer. And that concludes my comments.
All right, great.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Go.
So on the change orders, I'm just curious. That's because they found that the costs have been increasing, so they have to put in a new estimate? Is that how that works?
Well, they had an NTE. They had a not to exceed of on this one I'm looking at, for instance, of 24 million and change. Because of the supply and demand of the parts and the increased labor that they weren't counting on, it was a $3 million increase on this one in particular.
Was that pretty typical percentage-wise for the other ones, do you think?
Yeah, 13.8 is the average over the four. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I can ask a question on, on that. The Tower Market that's going in on the corner of Dr. Carrion and Monroe, is that part of that there?
No, none of the change orders related to that project.
Okay, they're just community buzz that the market is not opening because IID miscalculated the power use. And then now the market's not gonna open because they're asking for more upgrades. I don't know if anybody's heard of that.
No, but I have heard of that north of the 10 with projects that took a long time to get completed that finally got completed. So that's interesting. We'll have to look into that. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it impacts the community
Oh, yeah.
because, they want services and they want, convenience. And if a project is being delayed because of miscalculations on IED's part, they need to pick up their game. So that was part of the question I had. And I'll go into comments if there's nothing else.
Just to clarify it, so are you saying that they're not going forward with that project, or just?
The project's about 80% complete. They're not opening. They wanted to open during the Coachella Fest because that would be
Sure.
big revenue gain for them, but they didn't open on time because of those delays. At least that's what I'm hearing. I'm trying to vet out those conversations. You know, I don't want to be spreading vicious rumors, but I figured somebody on staff would know, so. Okay, great. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about Clean Fleet and stuff, is there a deadline on the City of Indio or Indio Water Authority for us to have a certain amount of clean fleet by a certain date?
I'm not 100% familiar with it, but yes, I know that Clean Fleets does have two options that have some sort of deadlines. There are options where you have to have a certain amount of the fleet that you purchase has to be alternative fuel, clean fuel vehicles, or there is a milestone option where you can, as long as a certain percentage of your fleet in general is electric or some
CNG.
alternative fuel,
CNG.
then you qualify. And each of them have their own different timelines for achieving those milestones. So
I know some of the other agencies are already looking at those things, and I know agencies are making purchases now of CNGs, electric vehicles, so we probably need to start looking at that now, or if we haven't been already, that way we can be ahead of those deadlines. And then in looking at that, what seems to be kind of not a stumbling block, but kind of a bottleneck is EV charging stations. So maybe it's something that we can enter into a mutual aid agreement with some of the other agencies like Valley Sanitary District, Coachella Valley Water District, where they already have charging stations, and if our fleet is close, maybe go there and charge or something of that nature. Just wanted to bring that up. And then speaking about Coachella Fest, I was happy to see that along some of the routes, pathways, the walking pathways towards Coachella Fest, they had trash receptacles. So I did like that, and that was good. I think staff needs to kind of maybe look at the needs and see how we're doing on that, but brilliant idea, whoever, brought that up. And another comment, it might not go to sustainability, but the staff did an excellent job of traffic control, crowd control, being, I guess, neighborhood sensitive to neighborhood needs. I live on the corner of 48 and Monroe currently, and it gets nuts around there. So Jim Curtis was really, really good with the neighborhood. We have a small community neighborhood watch there, and they did a lot of good things this year, and the impact was minimal as far as crowds and traffic and stuff on that little corner. I also think that had to do with the decreased attendance and stuff, but I know the neighborhood's gonna watch the numbers and stuff, and I think the attendance, City of Indio caps it at 110 or 120 or something of that nature. So just kind of wanted to bring that up. And then some other topics is the, let me see. The Food Truck Fridays. Again, those are going swimmingly. They had an Easter egg hunt that I attended. That went off well. The community loved that. So they had Mr. Easter Bunny there, and the kids were all happy. So they're doing a good job. And that concludes my comments. If anybody has any questions, I'll entertain them. I wish I could fit in the suit, but I could not.
Okay, just checking.
There's always next year.
Yes. Maybe I'll get on Ozempic. Maybe. Okay.
Okay, a question, air filters, we talked about those at some point in time, and the South Coast Air Quality Management District through the AB 617 program is giving away free home air filters. And they will be distributing them until they're complete. There's a section of Indio that qualifies for those, you have to be in a disadvantaged community. So there's a certain section of Indio that does qualify for those filters. And the numbers don't seem to be moving that fast, so I'm just looking for feedback on what is the best way for us to get that information out to our residents. Do you think would it be at one of these food fests or something like that? Any suggestions?
If, do you have flyers or something that we
There-
can,
They do now have a flyer that I can send to you.
please do, because yes, we can send that with the information for at the Food Truck Fridays and at the Farmers Market. We'll
Okay.
start there.
How many people do you have manning that, or, at that event?
Right now, it's 2 at each event.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll send that flyer out to you. And I don't have any update on waste or water, but Michelle did such a good job on water. I couldn't top her presentation if I tried. I would just add to the discussion on solar that today I noticed this morning that EPA distributed billions on solar. What was the total? There was a press announcement, $7 billion were approved for various states under this solar, it's called Solar for All. So it's targeted at disadvantaged communities. Again, we do have some of those within the city of Indio. Our state was not on the list of those getting grants, but there is one program called, it's called a multi-state, and the group running that program is going to be, is Inclusive Prosperity Capital, and they were approved for basically $250 million of free solar for disadvantaged communities. So I went out to their website. I don't necessarily see who has to apply. It looks like they give, their website shows loans, community solar. Okay, so it says project level loans for community solar project that subscribe to low to moderate income homes, so that and disadvantaged communities. So they might not have updated their website as yet for the grant that was just announced today by EPA, because EPA said it's free. So free and loans, two different things. So I guess who's doing solar? So Commissioner Getka. So I don't know if you want to follow up on any of that, so you can so we can advise residents
Sure.
of when if they need to go to the website directly to apply for it. But this came out here, and I can also send you the link, Sarah, if it's of any help, or send it. The website is on this. Yeah, it came out. I just noticed it this morning. First thing that I logged on my computer, there was this announcement from EPA of billions of dollars. Solar for all. Free is a key word. That's it for me. Thank you.
I'd like to maybe recommend something too, on the free filters, the air filters.
Yes.
If we know what areas that would qualify, maybe let whoever the council person is for that area, maybe they could mention
That's
it
a
on the
good-
next council meeting.
That is a good
Make a
thing
public
also.
announcement or
Yeah.
remarks when they have their remarks section.
Yes, I will look at the district person for that area, and I guess, somehow send it through to Sarah to tell them if I don't go to the meeting.
And they can maybe also post it on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a big public web or portal that a lot of people look at, and they can maybe make some announcements on that for their area or their district. I'm not sure how that would work, but I do post things on Nextdoor all the time in my community, so get the word out somehow. All right, thank you.
One more thing, is not sustainability based, but it is, an invite for you all. The Indio Rotary, Indio Rotary Club Indio Sunrise Rotary Club on May 14th, which is a Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., is hosting the first ever business appreciation breakfast for businesses in Indio. There's several people that have purchased tables and are sponsoring the event. Indio Water's one of them. The Indio PD is another one of them. The fire department's another. And we're honoring 6 businesses that have made a difference in transforming Indio over the past year and are going to continue to, whether that be with jobs or with, Cityscape or bringing businesses to Indio and have really impacted us. So if any of you would like to attend, please let me know. I'll be sure to have a seat for you at one of those city tables. I should elaborate. May 14th, 7 a.m., Heritage Palms Country Club. And if there's nothing further, I'm ready for a motion if you are.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.